of Dr. Faye Pappalardo came as a bit of a shock to some members of Carroll Community College. After 14 years as president of the college, she announced that the 2014 school year will be the last that she serves the position. Over these years, Pappalardo has seen a growth from a time when the campus was the once Robert Moton High School, with trailers on the premises for the administration, to the comparably large campus that now embodies the college.
Well, I had been at the college prior to Dr. Pappalardo coming to the college. Dr. Pappalardo came in 1988, and she came then as the coordinator of student services. And at that time, we were not at this location. We were over at the South Center Street location, the old Robert Moton Grade School building. And we were not even housed in the building. There was a trailer that was established, was parked behind the building, and a couple of offices were in trailers. And student services at the time was there working out of one of the trailers.
In an interview, Dr. Pappalardo elaborates.
There's our trailer. There was a trailer for continuing education and a small trailer for the testing center. Then everybody else, which weren't many, were over in the little school, the Robert Moton School. And that's what it was like. So you can think about these small trailers with few people in them, because we didn't have many people then. I think there were about, if I'm correct, there were probably 9, 10 full-time faculty, some full-time staff, and then some part-time staff.
Once the campus moved to its current location, the school's growth began. Vice President of Academic and Student Affairs, Dr. James Ball, remembers how the college was when he began working at Carroll.
At that time, we were quite a bit smaller. We were about less than half of the student body, and the newest building at the time was the Learning Resources Center building, the Random House building. Continuing Ed and Scott Center building had not been, it was in the proposed stage, but it hadn't been built. The nursing building hadn't been there. The K building, their instructional classroom building, wasn't there. So we added considerable square feet in the last 14 years under Dr. Pappalardo.
But before it could grow, Carroll had to first gain its independence from Catonsville Community College, of which it was originally a campus. Dr. Pappalardo was instrumental in gaining this independence.
There are so many favorite memories, and I've been asked before, what is your favorite memory of Carroll Community College? There are so many of them, and I've had so many wonderful opportunities to do things here that I find it hard to just select one. But if I were forced to say what is one of the highlights, I guess I believe it would be when I was writing the prospectus for independence for Carroll, because we were a campus of Catonsville, and I was doing the prospectus for independence. Then I did the prospectus for candidacy status, and then of course I worked on the committee to prepare for accreditation, and then we became independent. So that was done in 3 years, from 93 to 96. So if I was forced to pick out any, I guess that would be it. Thinking about the independence, candidacy status, and accreditation for Carroll Community College.
While the campus has grown considerably under Dr. Pappalardo, it's not the only hallmark of her tenure. Dr. James Ball explains.
She's a wonderful person to work with, and she has great vision. She is a tremendous leader. She has enabled the vice presidents to, you know, kind of work in a very vigorous environment, I guess I'd say. And her leadership has brought about, I think, the strongest working culture I've ever been in. It's a great place to work. The folks that work here are wonderful. There's a great deal of passion for what people are doing. people are extremely committed to their work and to the students here, and I think her leadership is what really has sort of set the stage for that. If the president isn't all about those things, then you know, those kinds of working culture elements don't develop. So with Dr. Pappalardo in place, I think she has really enabled and given the vice presidents a good deal of trust and a good deal of guidance as we worked, and it's just a great working partnership with her.
My impression of Dr. Pappalardo's leadership style is that it has always been a very student-centered philosophy. She has always been very concerned with how the student government is interacting within the college, always asking their opinion, talking to them about everything that's going on before everybody else knows. So for instance, if there's going to be a tuition increase, she's always come to the student government first to talk to them and get their impressions and hear what their opinions are. All budgeting presentations have always gone through student government, so she's always been very concerned that she's had great communication with students. She has even gone so far as wanting to make sure that all students feel connected to the college, so she's always been concerned about evening students and how their experience here at the college has been. From transitional students to an honors program, she's always been concerned and had a real affinity for students in general, regardless of why they're coming here or how long they've been here or how long they'll stay. She's always wanted their experience here to be a good one.
She is a very kind, sincere, genuine person, and she certainly has the best interest of students as well as then staff are foremost for her, and that hasn't changed. That exists today. Even though the institution is a much bigger institution than what it was back then, those characteristics and who she is as a person really hasn't changed.
Watching her, I think I learned the most more than talking to her because of the way that she cared, I guess, about everyone that she was talking to. For me, especially going to other colleges now and going around and talking to people and those kind of interactions, I realized how most people aren't that way. They don't care as much as Dr. Pappalardo has, and she's very personable to her staff and the students, and she's really done a lot, I think, for them.
Luke Fisher, the founder and first editor-in-chief of The-Quill, joins us for more.
You know, when I first met Dr. Pappalardo, I could tell she was just a very nice lady, and someone that, you know, I could tell that she cared a lot about the college. You know, I was coming in as a journalist, so it was kind of new for, I think, for her and me. There had been a paper a long time ago, maybe like over a decade before The-Quill started, but you know, I was learning how to be a student journalist, and I think she was also learning how to interact with student journalists. And I think at first, like, you know, maybe she was a little hesitant, and maybe like there was like a trust issue there. I remember there was an article about a tuition increase that I think she was a little uneasy about us publishing. She wanted us to wait until after the increase actually went into effect. But you know, we ran the story anyway, and then when she read it, she was like, you know, this was, you know, she told me, she's like, that was really fair, and you know, it wasn't sensational or anything, and you know, that was the thing, like, you know, it was all factual, and I think from there, you know, there was a level of trust. She knew I wasn't going to smear her or smear the college, and you know, our relationship, you know, really, you know, was really taken off at that point, I think.
After the 14-year leadership of Dr. Pappalardo, where will we be in the next 14 years? Dr. Pappalardo speaks on what she would like to see in the future.
I would hope that what would happen here in the next 14 years, or as time goes on, that Carroll would solidify its standing in the community, to continue its wonderful image in this county, to be sure that whatever we do and whatever will be done, there may be new programs, will really depend much on what this county needs, what the student needs, whether or not our budget will allow. But whatever we do, I would hope that in the next 14 years, it would be done with much integrity and honesty and caring as it has been done.
If the person is a visionary, and I would expect that the person will be a visionary in terms of where he or she wants to see the institution go, I think I think some of what Dr. Pappalardo has put in place, would likely continue in terms of strengthening our academic programs to the extent that we can. We already have a number of transfer programs, as you know. We're somewhat, limited on the number of career type programs that we have, but the ones that we have, we're hopefully graduating students from programs, and those students are then finding work. We're employing students, helping students be employed is what I should say. So I would think the next president would be concerned about that, concerned about, the viability of the institution, that the institution remains a strong institution, one who would work well with our Board of Trustees. I would expect all of that.
The new president, I think, is going to face some challenges in terms of enrollment. Our high school enrollment has been somewhat decreasing in the public schools, so there's fewer students coming. So I think attracting students of all ages to come to the college will be a challenge. I also think that the new leadership will have to really keep an eye on being flexible and being paying attention to what's happening in the community surrounding the college to make sure that all the students' needs are being met, regardless of the reason that they're coming, whether it's a certificate or a diploma or a workforce development project. Whatever they're coming for, we want to make sure that we meet all of their needs.
I see us expanding programs, expanding with the way the county develops and the way the region is developing in programs. Certainly STEM programs, the science, technology, engineering, and math kinds of programs are going to grow. We've had good success in the last couple of years in those areas, and those will continue to develop because that's what's developing in Maryland and in the region. So I think that will be a big part of the growth. I think our online presence will continue to grow, and as technologies get better, the mobile technology is taking over everything at this point. So as mobile technologies are more accessible to people, more people have smartphones and all that element, I think it's going to be a real challenge to keep our tools sharpened to have those avenues for students to learn and to access us. So I see us continuing to develop our virtual presence and that sort of thing.
Along with leading the college in its growth, there was also a lighter side to Dr. Pappalardo, as recounted here by students and colleagues.
And she wasn't real familiar with the Carroll County or the Westminster area. So one of the first things we did was we introduced Dr. Pappalardo to Boggers, as well as into Harry's. I think once one of the staff, we had gone out for lunch, I think, and we brought back for Dr. Pappalardo a couple of hot dogs from Harry's lunch. And as you know, and you may not know this, but Dr. Pappalardo has a fondness for hot dogs. So we introduced her to those two eateries.
I go to lunch fairly regularly with Dr. Pappalardo, and lunch is always great because she has very good Epicurean taste, and she loves a good meal. She loves a quality meal. She's taught me a lot about food, especially Italian food, and taught me how to think about it, eat it. And I never had much Italian food in my past. I was more into things like making my own Mexican food and so on. And so she introduced me to a whole area there. But I have to say, when I first started, one of the first things she did was to introduce me to Harry's and their chili dogs. And then after that, she said, you haven't eaten until you've gone to the VFW to eat. And so we eat fairly regularly at the VFW. And if it's not hot dogs, it's probably fried chicken if they're making it that day. So she loves the fried chicken. But she's just got a great palate and a great sense for food, and she's a great cook. Some of the best things I've ever eaten in my life, she's cooked. Truly an amazing cook. So I'd add that, I suppose, to what Joel Hoskowitz was saying earlier.
All right, so we were going to Florida for this scholarship, and it was Dr. Pappalardo and Kara Merkel who were going with me to accept this scholarship. And I will always remember Kara Merkel pulling out her cell phone or her iPad or something like that, and we were playing Angry Birds, and Dr. Pappalardo had never played Angry Birds before. And so we were sitting there teaching Dr. Pappalardo how to play Angry Birds on this airplane, and it was just like, it was such a strange experience because if you would have asked me when I started The-Quill if I would ever be playing Angry Birds with Dr. Pappalardo, I could tell you that was not going to happen. But it did happen, so it was definitely a lot of fun.
And while the 2014 school year will be her last, Dr. Pappalardo promised that she would not be a lame duck president. Marked by her leadership, growth of the college, and connection to the students and faculty of Carroll, Dr. Pappalardo's tenure has set the stage for what will likely be a headline-worthy year. I'm Bradley White reporting for The-Quill. Thank you for watching.